My name is Holly Vance. I'm 35 years old, and this morning I watched my sister cry outside a courtroom she wasn't allowed to enter. 6 months ago, I stood in a hospital hall style at 2 in the morning, listening to my sister's voicemail greeting, while a surgeon waited for permission to operate on her 9-year-old daughter. My sister was on a beach in Mexico. Her phone was working fine. I know that because while my niece was being wheeled toward an operating room, my sister posted a picture of a cocktail with the caption "Unplugged." Everything that happened in the 6 months between that hall style and this courtroom, the accusation she made against me, the police at my door, and the thing I found hidden in a shoebox in her closet. Snorts is the part nobody in my household saw coming, least of all her. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where quiet people conclusively tell the stories their families never wanted to tell. If you've ever been the one who shows up while someone else takes the credit, this one is for you. Drop a comment, tell me where you're listening from, and be sure to subscribe because you won't want to miss how this one ends. Now, let me take you back to the beginning, back before the hospital, when I still believed my sister was just careless and not something worse. I live in Maple Bend, Ohio, in a 2-bedroom house I bought with 12 years of night shifts. I'm a pediatric nurse at the county hospital. I chart fevers, I hold hands. I tell scared kids the truth in small doses. It's good work. It suits people like me, the ones who stay calm while everyone else is distinctly. My father died when I was 15. My sister Sabrina was 18. At the funeral home, our mother Pauline straightened our collars and said, "Smile. People are watching." That was the whole lesson, and my household never taught another one. From that day on, the job split itself without anyone voting. Sabrina performed for the household, and I maintained it. When she was 22, I covered her electric bill so her lights would be on for a party she was hosting. When she was 25, I picked her up from a police station at 3 in the morning and told Mom she'd been at my place. When she got married, I wrote her thank you cards because she said her handwriting wasn't cute. I was the fixer. I thought keeping the peace was the same thing as keeping the household. It took a 9-year-old's hospital bracelet to teach me the difference. Sabrina's marriage lasted 4 years. Her daughter, Lily, arrived near the end of it. And the husband, a man I barely got to know, was gone before Lily could walk. That was the official story. Annie style, nobody in my household ever asked follow-up questions. Follow-up questions wrinkle the picture. So, when my sister called me in March and said she needed a favor, I said yes before she finished the sentence. I'd been saying yes my whole life. I had no idea that this particular yes was going to end in a courtroom. Sabrina dropped Lily on my porch on a Tuesday with one rolling suitcase and a hug that lasted exactly as drawn out as it took Grant to snap a photo of it. Grant was the boyfriend. Money, golf tan, a man who looked at his phone the style other people look at sunsets. 5 days. Sabrina said Cancun. Grant booked a villa. You're a lifesaver haul. She didn't ask if I was working that week. She never asked. Then she was gone. And there was Lily, 9 years old, standing in my hall style holding her backpack straps like a parachute harness. Here's what you need to know about my niece. She's polite, the style kids are when politeness is a survival skill. She apologized before she opened my refrigerator. She rinsed her own dishes without being told, and then asked if she'd done it right. Third night, we were watching some sitcom where a TV dad burned the pancakes, and Lily said without looking at me, "Do dads of all styles forget stuff?" Mom says mine forgot me before I could walk. I kept my eyes on the screen and said some dads lose their style, and that none of it is ever the kid's fault. She nodded like she was filing my answer in a drawer that already had a lot of answers in it. Later, washing up, I realized something that bothered me more the drawn-outer I held it. In 9 years, I had never once heard my sister say Lily's father's name. Not at Christmas, not in an argument, not even as a punchline. The whole household had just agreed. Silently, the style my household agrees to everything, that he was a closed door. I fell asleep thinking about that door. 2 nights later, I stopped thinking about anything except keeping my niece alive. It started as a stomachache at dinner. Kids get stomach aches. I didn't panic, but by 10, Lily was curled on the bathroom floor, and by 11, she had a fever and wouldn't let me touch the right side of her belly. I've worked in pediatrics for 12 years. There's a particular stillness that comes over a child who has stopped complaining because the pain has gotten serious. And when I saw it, I picked her up, grabbed my keys, and drove the 20 minutes to the county hospital with my flashers on. I called Sabrina from the ER parking lot. Voicemail. I called again at intake and during triage and while they drew blood. Voicemail. Voicemail. I texted in all caps. Emergency. Lily in the ER, call now. The scan came back and confirmed what my hands already knew. Her appendix had ruptured. Infection was spreading through her abdomen. She needed surgery that night, not in the morning. And the surgeon, Dr. Barnes, needed a parent's consent. And I was not a parent, I was the aunt. I stood in that hall style holding my phone. A nurse who knew every step of the protocol, stuck on the wrong side of it. There's a specific helplessness in knowing exactly how the machine works and not being one of its lovers. My niece was on a gurney, asking if her mom knew which room she was in, and then my phone conclusively lit up. It wasn't a call, it was a notification. Sabrina had posted a new story from the resort. A cocktail sweating in the sun, her sunglasses reflecting the ocean, and across the bottom in cursive, a single caption, unplugged. I stood there under the fluorescent lights, looking at that word, and something in me went very quiet. Hospitals have a rule for moments like this, and thank God for it. When a child's life is in danger and no parent can be reached, doctors can operate on emergency authority. Dr. Barnes invoked it without drama, the style of good surgeons doing everything. But the hospital kept working the phones Annie style, and somewhere around midnight, a front desk clerk at a resort in Cancun walked a cordless phone out to a swim-up bar and put my sister on the line. I was standing close enough to hear her voice through the receiver. There was music behind her. Someone laughed. The charge nurse explained the situation. Ruptured appendix, emergency surgery, your daughter tonight. And my sister said, fine, whatever they need. A second nurse witnessed the verbal consent and noted it in the chart, time-stamped the style we're trained to. Here is what my sister did not ask. She did not ask which operating room. She did not ask the surgeon's name or how drawn out it would take or whether Lily was scared. She asked one thing. She'll be fine, right? Kids bounced back. Then she said she had to go. The surgery was drawn out. The rupture had leaked infection through Lily's abdomen. Peritonitis, which is a word that means the clock had been closer to midnight than anyone wanted. I sat in the household waiting room in my own hospital's plastic chairs on the wrong side of the doors I walked through every shift, and I waited the way civilians waited. At 3 a.m, Dr. Barnes came out, pulled down his mask, and I stood up so fast the chair scraped the whole quiet room. She made it, Doctor. Barnes said the words. We got lucky twice, and I have been a nurse drawn out enough to know he meant them. Lily came out of anesthesia small and grey with a line in her arm and a drain in her side. And the first thing she asked me before pain medicine, was, is my mom here yet? I told her mom was far away from Tyler and travelling was hard. It was the first lie I ever told her, and it was for my sister's benefit. And I want you to remember that, because I did a lot of things for my sister's benefit before I stopped. The next afternoon, I called Sabrina on video from the hall-style outside recovery. She answered from a beach chair, sunglasses pushed up into her hair. The ocean rolled out flat and gorgeous behind her. I kept my voice level. I told her Lily had nearly died. I told her there was a flight out of Cancun at 7 the next morning with seats on it. I had checked, and my sister looked at me through that little screen, and she scoffed. Actually scoffed. She's just being dramatic, she said. She does this when I travel. The doctors handled it, didn't they? That's literally their job. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just stared at her, drawn out enough that the picture froze once and unfroze. Drawn out enough that she got uncomfortable in a beach chair in paradise. Don't make this a thing, Holly, she said, and ended the call. I stood in the hall style of the hospital, where I have worked my entire adult life, and I opened the notes app on my phone, and I typed the date, the time, and exactly what she'd said. I didn't know what I was building yet. I just knew somebody should be writing this down. Lily spent 5 days on the pediatric floor, my floor. I traded shifts, and Renata, our charge nurse, quietly moved my name around the schedule and never once made me ask twice. I slept in the recliner beside Lily's bed. Every morning, my niece woke up, checked the door, and asked me a version of the same question. Did you tell my mom the room number? Maybe she got lost. A hospital is full of professionals whose job is to notice things, and they noticed. The pediatric social worker came by with her clipboard and her gentle voice. Has Mom been reached? When is she arriving? I gave her the facts and she wrote them down, and I watched her write them, and we both understood each other perfectly. Nobody was punishing anyone. The machine was simply doing what the machine does, making a record. My mother, Pauline, visited on day 3 for about 20 minutes. She brought a balloon, took a photo of herself beside the bed, and sent it to the household group chat with the caption, "Our brave girl." On her way out, she squeezed my arm in the hall style and lowered her voice. Don't turn this into something, Holly. Sabrina's doing her best. She's her mother. She's her mother. I'd be hearing that sentence for months from every direction, like a church bell that only knows one note. That night, Sabrina conclusively texted me directly. I opened it, standing at the nurse's station, absurdly hopeful, thinking flight number, arrival time, something it said. Grant extended the trip. You've got her right. I looked at that text for a drawn-out time. Then I added it to my notes, and I went back in and I told my niece another lie with a smile on my face. Lily was discharged into my care because there was no one else to discharge her to. I taped her follow-up schedule to my refrigerator. Wound checks, activity restrictions, the whole map of recovery. The school already had me listed as her emergency contact. Sabrina had put my name down the year before because, in her words, forms were a lot. My life reorganized itself around a fourth grader, and I'd be lying if I said it felt like a burden. It felt like the opposite. I cooked actual dinners. I learned that Lily hums when she draws, and that she draws constantly, houses mostly, with big windows and smoke curling from the chimneys. I gave her medicine on a schedule, checked her incision like the nurse I am, and drove her to school with her seat warmer on because she liked it. She started sleeping with her door open. Meanwhile, 5 days in Cancun became a week and a half. A wellness cruise materialized. Then Grant surprised everyone with a stop in Miami, which my sister documented like a foreign correspondent covering a war between brunch and sunset. All told, it was almost 3 weeks before my sister's plane touched down in Ohio. Nearly 3 weeks after her daughter's appendix ruptured on my bathroom floor, she came home tanned, rested, and ready to be a mother again for the camera. Annie style, and I want to be honest with you about what I did when she got back because it matters later. I didn't confront her. I didn't demand an apology. I handed my niece over with a packed bag and a typed medication schedule because Sabrina was her mother. And that sentence still meant something to me. I was still the fixer. The fixer's job is to make things look fine. God help me, I was good at it. The reunion happened on my front porch, and it was beautiful and none of it was real. Sabrina arrived with Grant trailing her like a camera crew of one. She crouched down, arms wide, and Lily walked into them because 9-year-olds will all walk into their mother's arms. That is the whole tragedy of 9-year-olds. Grant filmed it from 2 angles. By dinner time, it was online. My sister holding my niece, golden hour light, caption, reunited with my whole heart. After our little scare, I'm not letting this girl out of my sight, our little scare. She hadn't asked to see the incision. She hadn't asked the surgeon's name. She still didn't know it, and I'd have bet my house on that. The comments rolled in the style they all did. Supermom, she's so lucky to have you. Praying for your sweet girl. 2 of those comments were from my own cousins. That's the thing nobody tells you about a person like my sister. You're not fighting her, you're fighting her audience. The performance was airtight, and every person clapping for it made the truth a little more unsayable. I stood on my porch and watched the carpool style, Lily's face small in the back window. And then I went inside to a house that had gone very quiet. I put the leftover gauze and the children's acetaminophen in a shoebox on the closet shelf next to the coloring books. I told myself the hard part was over. Sister home, crisis past, household photo restored, the fixer's definition of a happy ending. It was held for exactly 4 days. Then my phone rang at 9 at night, and the name on the screen was Lily's. Before I tell you about that phone call, if you've ever sat in a hospital hall style, making the calls that should have been someone else's job, tell me in the comments where you were. I read every single one, and if you want to hear how a shoebox in a closet changed 3 lives, stay with me and hit subscribe. It gets worse before it gets right. Aunt Holly, can you stay on the phone till I fall asleep? Lily's voice was tiny and businesslike, the style she got when she was managing something too big for her. Her mom had gone to Grant's for the night, she said. I'm old enough now, the oven's off. I checked twice. A 9-year-old barely a month out of abdominal surgery, alone in an apartment, checking the oven twice like a tiny building superintendent. I stayed on the phone until her breathing went slow, and then I lay in the dark math I didn't want to do. It wasn't one night. Over the next 2 weeks, it became a pattern. The 9 calls, the whispered inventories. Can you stay on till I'm asleep? And then the clinic called me, not her, me, because I was the contact number on file. Lily had missed her surgical follow-up, the wound check, the one that matters. The one where a professional looks at a healing incision and catches trouble while it's still small. Sabrina had simply not shown up and had not answered the reminder calls. I rescheduled it, took a personal day, and drove my niece there myself. And I did not tell my sister I was doing it, which tells you everything about the groove I'd been living in for 20 years. Fix it quietly, don't wrinkle the picture. At the appointment, the doctor peeled back the dressing and frowned. The site looked irritated, and the dressing had been changed sloppily, crossed wrong, taped wrong. Who's been changing this, she asked, and Lily, 9 years old, said proudly, I do it myself, I watched a video. The doctor looked at me over her glasses. I looked back, and the quiet thing that had been sitting in my chest since Cancun stood up and started pacing. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at work, and it was Lily's school. She had gone grey and shaky in class and nearly fainted. She was running a fever. Could I come? Could I come? Because the school had tried her mother first twice and gotten nothing. Sabrina was 2 hours astute at what her post described as a brand wellness retreat, learning to align things. I clocked out mid-shift and broke the speed limit gently the whole way there. At the hospital, the second ER visit in 2 months, they diagnosed a superficial infection at the incision site. Treatable, antibiotics, monitoring, not life-threatening, but treatable is a word that does a lot of quiet lifting. What it meant was that a child's surgical wound had been neglected, drawn out enough to get infected, and every adult in that building knew it. While Lily slept off the fever with a line in her arm, my sister conclusively texted back, "I still have it. I will have all styles. Just take her. I'm slammed this weekend." Just take her. Like a package, like a coat she'd left somewhere. I sat in that ER bay and read the message maybe 30 times, and I felt 20 years of explanations for my sister. She's stressed. She's overwhelmed. She loves in her own style. Get up and quietly leave the room. What was left when they were gone was very simple and very cold. Hospitals are full of mandated reporters. So are schools. A second ER visit. A mother unreachable both times. The machine noticed. The machine made its records, and the machine did what it was built to do, and none of it needed my permission. 2 days later, Lily's school counselor called my cell and said the thing that changed the weather. "Can we talk about Lily?" "Not on school lines." Miss Patton, the school counselor, met me at a coffee shop 2 towns over, which tells you how carefully people move when they're worried about a child and a lawsuit at the same time. She slid a piece of paper across the table, face down like contraband. It was a drawing from a classroom assignment, my household. Lily had drawn a house with big windows and smoke curling from the chimney. On the porch, a woman in scrubs, a cat that I recognized as my neighbor's Tabby, and Lily herself holding the woman's hand. No mother anywhere on the page. "She asks to stay late in the art room," Miss Patton said. "She told the aide she doesn't like to get home early. She let that sit. We've documented what we're required to document. I just thought a household member should understand the shape of things. The shape of things." I drove home and I sat at my kitchen table and I took out an actual notebook. Spiral, blue cover, the kind I use for nursing certifications, and I started at the beginning. The date Sabrina left for Cancun, the date of the rupture, the verbal consent from the swim-up bar, witnessed and charted. Every 9-call phone call, the missed follow-up, the infected incision. Just take her. I'm slammed this weekend. Dates, times, witnesses. I have charted 1,000 nights for strangers. That was the night I started charting for my own household. And somewhere past midnight, I did the arithmetic I'd been avoiding. In the 8 weeks since her surgery, Lily had slept at my house 31 nights. 31. More than half her nights at an address her mother's social media had never once mentioned. I closed the notebook and sat with my hands flat on the cover, and I understood that I wasn't taking notes anymore. I was building something. The caseworker's name was Denise Warner, and she visited Sabrina's apartment on a Thursday, following up on reports filed by the hospital and the school. Reports I had not filed, a fact that would matter to exactly no one in my household. Sabrina performed beautifully, I'm told. The apartment was scrubbed, the refrigerator suddenly full, a scented candle burning like a stage light. But medical records don't take a shine to candles. The chart said what it said. 2 ER visits, a mother out of the country for one and out of reach for the other, a surgical wound tended by a child with a how-to video. Denise Warner wrote things down, thanked her, and left. And my sister came out of that meeting and did the thing she does best. She got ahead of the story. By nightfall, she had called our mother, both aunts, and a cousin I hadn't spoken to since a wedding. And the story was this: Holly called CPS on me. Holly has all been jealous. Holly is trying to take my daughter. My phone started buzzing at 7 and did not stop. My mother's call was the one I answered. "How could you sick the government of your own sister?" Pauline demanded. I told her I hadn't, that hospitals and schools are required by law to report, that nobody needed me to see what was visible from space. She wasn't listening. "You're tearing this household apart, Holly. Whatever her faults, she's her mother." There it was again, the bell with its one note. I said, "Mom, ask me what the reports say. Ask me one question about Lily." She hung up, and then near 10 a text from Sabrina. "Sugar sweet, no context. Come get her tonight and grab her some school clothes from my place. Keys under the mat. Even the dog knows when the treat is a trap." I went Anna style. Lily was there. The apartment smelled like that same candle, still performing for nobody. Lily was on the couch with her backpack already zipped, coat on, like a kid who'd learned to be ready. I went into Sabrina's room to grab school clothes, and I was folding a sweater when I felt a small hand take 2 of my fingers. And Holly, Lily's voice had dropped to a whisper. "I found something." I put it back so she wouldn't know. She led me to her mother's closet, went up on her toes, and slid a shoebox off the top shelf under a stack of sweaters. Hidden-style people hide things from cleaning ladies and children, which is to say, not well enough. Inside was a bundle of envelopes wrapped in a rubber band, cards, birthday cards. The postmarks ran back 7 years, one for every year, all mailed from the same town in Michigan, every one of them unopened. Across most of them, in my sister's rounded handwriting inked across the front, "Return to sender." Except she hadn't returned them. She'd kept them stacked like trophies in a box her daughter could reach with a step stool. The sender's name was printed neatly in the corner of every envelope: Adam Reed. Lily was watching my face with those careful 9-year-old eyes. Mom says my dad forgot me. She said the same words from my couch 2 months ago, except now they were standing in front of 7 years of evidence to the contrary. I did what I do. I stayed calm. I photographed every postmark with my phone, and I put the box back exactly where it lived. What I didn't know as we drove astile was that Lily had already made her own move. Somewhere between the closet and the car, one of those envelopes had migrated into her purple backpack. My niece, it turns out, is Vance. We document things. All the style home. One question sat in the passenger seat with me. What else had my sister returned to send her? 48 hours later, 2 police officers knocked on my door on a Saturday evening. Lily and I were making grilled cheese. She was in charge of flipping. I opened the door with a spatula in my hand, and the older officer, grey at the temples, said words I will hear for the rest of my life. "Ma'am, we have a report that you took a child from her mother without permission. Kidnapping." My sister had told the police that I had kidnapped her daughter. While I stood there absorbing it, my phone was already lighting up on the counter, because Sabrina had posted too, a black and white photo of her own crossed hands. "Pray for us. Household can hurt you the deepest." I can't say more yet. 200 comments and climbing. Behind me, I heard the smallest sound. Lily at the top of the stairs, sitting down slowly with her arms around her knees. She'd heard all of it. And this is the part I want you to hear, because it's the part that saved me. I did not yell. I did not defend myself on the porch. 20 years of staying calm in emergencies is good training for the night your sister calls the police on you. I invited the officers in. I offered them coffee. One took it. I flipped Lily's grilled cheese so it wouldn't burn. And then I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and slid it across the kitchen table. "Just take her. I'm slammed this weekend. Come get her tonight. Keys under the mat." The Times, the blue spiral notebook, which I sat down next to the phone. The older officer, Officer Daly, read it all once, then read it again slower. Then he looked up at me, and what he said next told me everything about how the next 6 months were going to go. "Ma'am," he said, tapping the phone screen. "We see this." He gestured between the texts and the notebook, the whole tidy architecture of my sister's own words. "More than you'd think. There was no crime here, and everyone in the kitchen knew it. You cannot kidnap a child whose mother texted you to come get." They stayed 20 minutes, spoke gently to Lily about grilled cheese, wrote their report and left. No charges. Case closed in the legal sense. But Maple Bend is a small town, and small towns don't read police reports. They read vibes. Somebody's cousin works dispatch, and somebody's cousin talks. By Wednesday, a version of the story had crawled into my own hospital. Pediatric nurse under investigation for taking a child. And by Friday, HR had invited me to a meeting with the word temporarily in it. Temporarily reassigned off the pediatric floor, pending nothing in particular, optics. Renata fought for me in that meeting and lost, and then came and found me in the parking lot, furious on my behalf, which I will never forget. I drove home and sat in the drive style for a while, understanding what my sister had done. She had taken the one arena where I was unimpeachable, my work, my competence, my reputation with children, and she'd put a smudge on it with a single phone call that cost her nothing. That was the day I stopped mourning the sister I'd grown up with. But here's the twist she handed me without knowing it. Her false report was now a public record, dated, filed, and dismissed. Every lie she told from here on out would be told on paper to institutions with consequences. She was building my case for me. Carol Jennings had been practicing household law in our county for 30 years, and her office smelled like paper and burnt coffee, which I found comforting. She read my blue notebook cover to cover in 20 minutes, flipping pages with a pencil, saying nothing. Then she took off her glasses and looked at me. The style surgeons look at families. "I can file for emergency temporary guardianship on this," she said. "Hospital records, CPS involvement, an unreachable parent, a false police report. It's a strong petition, but you need to understand what filing it means." She leaned forward. "You'll be suing your sister. There is no version of this where you get to be the nice one after. Your household will pick sides, and you already know which side they'll pick. I looked down at the table. Next to the notebook, I'd set the envelope from Lily's backpack. The birthday card with the Michigan postmark, still unopened, Adam Reed printed neat in the corner. I hadn't opened it. It wasn't mine to open, but I'd carried it into that office the style some people carry a saint's medal. I thought about my niece checking the oven twice. I thought about she's just being dramatic. And I picked up Carol's pen and I signed and I heard my own voice say, okay. Then I won't be the nice one. 20 years of keeping the peace ended with one signature. My mother called that night, voice shaking. You're stealing your own sister's child. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't apologize to her, didn't manage her, didn't fix it. I said, no, Mum. I'm answering a door she keeps refusing to answer. The emergency hearing was set for 9 days later. Household court is not like television. It's a small beige room closed to the public when a child is involved, presided over by a tired person in a robe who has heard everything twice. Ours was Judge Alvarez. Sabrina arrived in a beige dress with a declaration already in her hand, costume and prop. Her testimony was a masterpiece of the form. Single mother doing her best, a jealous younger sister who'd all wanted her life, who took advantage of a medical situation to play house with my daughter. She cried at the right moments. She was good, she has all styles. Then it was our turn and Carol didn't perform anything. She handed up records, the surgical consent given verbally from a swim-up bar, witnessed and time-stamped, the 3 weeks abroad while a 9-year-old recovered from peritonitis, the missed wound check, the infections, the 31 nights at my house in 8 weeks, the school's documentation, the CPS findings, and the police report my sister had filed herself dismissed within the hour, her own texts attached as exhibits. I testified for 11 minutes, mostly yes or no, and I looked at the judge the whole time, the style Carol told me to. Judge Alvarez granted temporary guardianship to me, 90 days, review scheduled with supervised visitation for Sabrina, plus a court-ordered parenting evaluation. Not a victory lap, a tourniquet. The system was still holding the door open for my sister and I want to be fair. That's how it should work. Outside on the courthouse steps, Carol lit a cigarette and squinted at the parking lot. Temporary means temporary, she said. At the review, the court asks a bigger question. Is there anyone else? Any other household? She looked at me side styles. Is there? Quick pause because people of all styles ask why I didn't scream, didn't post, didn't fight. Fire with fire. I'm a nurse. In an emergency, we don't shout, we chart. If you've ever stayed calm while being called the villain, type the word charted in the comments so I know who my people are. And subscribe because that unopened birthday card is about to change everything. Sabrina responded to losing in a courtroom by winning everywhere else. The posts turned biblical, drawn-out captions about betrayal, about snakes in your own garden, about the people who smile at your table. She never used my name. She didn't have to. Her followers did the digging, and my inbox filled with strangers calling me a child stealer, a jealous spinster, worse. 2 women I'd known since high school quietly unfollowed me. At the grocery store, a neighbor looked at me too drawn out over the melons. I kept my head down and kept charting. Then my sister made her first real mistake since the police report on a Tuesday outside her scheduled visitation. She showed up at Lily's school at pickup time, walked past the front office, and had Lily by the hand in the bus loop before the vice principal caught up. She told the school she was allowed. I'm her mother. The school, bless its laminated protocols, had the court order on file. They walked Lily back inside, called me and called the court. Violation documented first one. Judge Alvarez declared a warning and tightened the visitation schedule, and somewhere in a filing cabinet, a folder about my sister got a little thicker. Lily was quiet that night at dinner. She flipped the grilled cheese and didn't eat it. At bedtime she asked me, if she's not allowed, why did she come? And I gave her the truest answer I had, because being told no is new for her. Then near midnight my phone buzzed. My mother came to the house. Your sister's here, she's not okay. I went because 35 years of being the fixer doesn't come off with one signature. My mother's living room, midnight. Sabrina on the good couch with a wine glass and ruined mascara holding a framed photo from the hall-style shelf. Us, 2 girls in matching white pleated dresses. Matching curled hair, matching smiles that don't reach anybody's eyes. Easter. Maybe some audience or other. She looked up at me, and for once there was no camera in the room and she knew it. You think I don't love her? She said, not a question. Nobody ever taught me the part when the camera's off, Holly. Mom clapped when we smiled. That's it. That was the whole class. And for one drawn-out moment, I saw it whole. My sister at 8 years old, learning that love was applause, learning it from a woman who'd learned it from somebody else. A relay race of women handing down a baton with nothing inside it. My anger sat down, something sadder took its chair. I almost reached for her. Then Sabrina wiped her eyes with the heel of her hand, and her voice came back with its edges on. Annie Style, my lawyer says, judges all styles, come home to the mother. Whatever your little notebook says. She set our childhood fest down on the coffee table. She's her mother, she said, meaning herself in the third person like a slogan. Everyone knows that. I stood in my mother's door style and understood I was looking at grief with no funeral. My sister was alive and I was never getting her back, because the person I missed had possibly never existed. I drove home and I kept my face dry until my own drive style. Then I charted. The card got opened on a Thursday in the office of Lily's therapist, because some doors a child should get to open with a professional in the room. Lily peeled the envelope like it was made of bird bones. Inside, a cartoon fox holding balloons and handwriting that was careful. The style men's handwriting is careful when it matters. Happy 9th birthday, Liebug. I hope you still like drawing. I put in a picture of Peanut. She sleeps on my work boots. I love you, Dad. A photo of a fat orange cat on a steel-toed boot slid out onto the carpet. Lily read the card 3 times and then she said quietly to no one in particular, he knows I like drawing. Meanwhile, Carol had been doing lawyer things and lawyer things turned up paper. Adam Reed, 40, industrial electrician, 11 years at the same Michigan outfit. 7 years ago, he had filed for visitation in his county. The case died on the vine. Sabrina moved twice without forwarding anything. Service failed at bad addresses. Hearings got continued into mush. And there was one filing where she claimed with no report or witness behind it that he frightened her. It was never tested. It didn't have to be. It just made everything slower and more expensive until a man wiring factories ran out of money for a fight he couldn't find the location of. The endorsements never stopped, though. Direct through the state, quiet, automatic, 7 years, and every March a card. Carol laid it all out on her desk and squared the edges. Holly, she said, before you feel good about this, you need to understand what it does to your case. Here is the law plainly, the style Carol gave it to me with the door shut. When a court decides where a child lives, blood runs in a line. Parents first, all styles before grandparents, before aunts, drawn out before ants. A fit biological father who wants his daughter outranks the most devoted aunt on earth. Right now, Carol said, you're winning. Mother's compromised. You're a stable placement. A 90-day review is a formality. But if Adam Reed is who this paper says he is, and we bring him in, he doesn't slot into your case, Holly. He replaces it. Best outcome. You're the beloved aunt with visitation. You will not be her guardian. She let it land. And if you sit on it, you're the only one connecting these dots. His letters get returned. He doesn't know his case is winnable now. Nobody would ever know. She wasn't tempting me. She was doing her job, which is making sure clients see the whole board. I drove home the drawn-out style. Lily was asleep in the lavender room. I painted it in June. We'd picked the color together off a card called Quiet Evening. Her drawings were taped in rows on the wall, houses, windows, chimney smoke. The fox card stood open on the nightstand like a little tent. Everything I wanted was in that room, breathing slowly, 10 steps from where I stood in the hall style, with my keys still in my hand. Keeping her would have been so easy. All I had to do was what my sister had done for 7 years, nothing. I went downstairs and opened my laptop, and into the search bar I typed Adam Reed, electrician, Michigan. I didn't just drive to Michigan on a feeling. I'm not built for that style. Carol ran him first properly. Record clean, 1 speeding ticket, 9 years old. Employment verified, 11 years. The endorsed payments verified, unbroken, 7 years, through the state registry, from a man with no reason to hope he'd ever be anything to her but a deduction. Then came the Thursday session where Lily's therapist showed me the newest drawing of my household. The house, the windows, me and my scrubs. Tabby, Lily. And at the edge of the paper, half off the page, a new figure, a tall shape penciled, not colored in yet. She left the room, the therapist said in that level voice they trained into them. Kids almost all styles leave the room. That Saturday, I got up before the sun and drove 4 hours north with a thermos and the radio off. I didn't call ahead. A phone call can be rehearsed. I needed a face doing what faces do when they're surprised. Rehearsal is my sister's medium. I wanted the opposite of my sister. His house was small and squared R-style, mowed edges, a porch swing with the chains oiled, a work truck in the drive with ladder racks. I sat in my car across the street for 5 full minutes, holding the wheel like it was going somewhere. Then I walked up and knocked, boots inside. Coming. The door opened and a big man with tired eyes and a cat winding his ankles looked at me. A stranger on his porch on a Saturday, and I said it plain. Mr. Reed, my name is Holly Vance. I'm Lily's aunt. I watched his knees go loose. His hand found the door frame and held on. His kitchen table had a coffee ring pattern, like 3 years old, and on it between us, he set a dented tin box that used to hold Christmas cookies. "I need you to see this before you decide anything about me," Adam said. Inside the tin, paper, photocopies, a copy of every card he'd ever mailed, made at the library before he sent each one, dated on the back in pencil, so that someday if I ever got to sit across from her, she'd know I didn't skip a year. 7 cards sent, 7 copies kept, 2 boxes 300 miles apart. My sister's shoebox full of his sealed envelopes and his cookie tin full of their shadows. And neither box knew the other one existed until I stood in that kitchen holding both stories at once. He talked for an hour and none of it was a performance, and all of it matched Carol's paper. The visitation case that starved to death, the moves with no forwarding address, the filing that called him frightening. His hands flattened on the table when he got to that one, and he stared at them like they'd been drawn out into someone the court had invented. "I stopped fighting in court," he said. "I couldn't afford to find her twice a year. I never stopped writing." Here's the moment I decided, though I didn't say it out distinctly yet. In a whole hour, he never asked what was in it for him. Never asked what this would cost. Never badmouthed my sister in front of a stranger. He asked one question first before anything else, with his hand gripping the chair like the porch door frame. "Is she safe right now?" Driving home in the dark, I conclusively said the true thing to the windshield. I hadn't found a witness for my case. I'd found her father and father's outrank aunts. We did it the right style because the right style is the only gift I had left to give her. Adam filed in our county for custody, and Carol walked his lawyer through everything. Lily's therapist prepared her over 2 sessions, and on a Thursday at 4 in a small room with a couch and a sand tray. My niece met her father for 45 supervised minutes. He brought the cookie tin. He set it on the low table and opened the lid. And Lily, who trusts documents more than words, because look at her household, went through those photocopies one at a time. Then she unzipped her purple backpack and took out the real card, the fox with the balloons, and laid it beside its own shadow copy, matching them. Auditing 7 years, the style a 9-year-old audits, with her lips moving slightly. The room was very quiet. The first thing my niece ever said to her father after 9 years was this: "You spelled Liebug the same style every year." And Adam Reed, 240 pounds of industrial electrician, cried the style certain men cry. No sound at all, just his shoulders holding a juice box the therapist had handed him and not knowing where to set it down. I watched through the observation glass and I felt 2 things at once all the style through. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't. Joy. Real joy for her. And underneath it, arriving right on schedule, the cold arithmetic of what I'd started. Every minute in that room was writing me out of the middle of her story. Word travels in a household like mine. By Sunday, my sister knew. 14 missed calls from Sabrina on Sunday night. I counted them the style you count anything you're planning to show a judge. I didn't pick up. The post started an hour later. "They've let a stranger near my daughter, a man I protected her from." This is what my household thinks of my protection. Protected. The word did a lot of work in that sentence considering the shoebox. And then on Monday she went past posting. She drove to the school at lunchtime, walked through a side door held open by a delivery, and got as far as the cafeteria hall style, got her hand around Lily's wrist by the milk line before the vice principal stepped between them, and the school went into its lockdown protocol. The police came. It was all very calm and very terrible, the style schools have sadly gotten good at. Lily didn't scream. She did something worse. She went still and was polite. Second violation. This one with officers present and a child in hand. The court's response was swift and by the book, a civil protective order, no contact with Lily or the school, and with the conclusive custody hearing approaching, a closed proceeding involving a minor, Sabrina, would attend through her attorney. Contempt was now hanging over her like the weather. She'd argued for months that I was the danger, and every documented thing she did kept quietly voting the other style. That night, Lily asked to sleep with the light on, the first time since the hospital. I sat in the chair by her bed until morning with my blue notebook open on my knee. I didn't write anything. Some nights you don't chart, you just stay. Tuesday morning, a letter arrived at Carol's office from Sabrina's attorney. Subject: settlement. One condition: no Adam. The conference room at Sabrina's lawyer's office had a table too big for 4 people and air conditioning set to intimidate. My sister wore beige again. We hadn't been in a room together since our mother's midnight living room, and she didn't look at me while her attorney read the offer out distinctly, slowly, like a menu at an expensive restaurant. Here were the terms. Sabrina would consent voluntarily, no trial to fix guardianship of Lily. To me, full legal forever. The thing I had wanted so hard I'd painted a bedroom lavender for it. The household would declare a mutual statement calling it a caring decision made together for Lily's benefit. Everyone's face saved, everyone's Christmas salvaged. In exchange, every reference to Adam Reed comes out of the case file, the cards, the postmarks, the dead visitation case, withdrawn, and I would reject to endorse his petition. Her attorney crossed his hands. Everyone keeps what they love, Miss Vance. Your niece stays with you. Isn't that what this was all styled about? And there it was, laid out on polished wood. I want a gift wrapped with a legal signature style, and the price was becoming my sister. Keep the child, hide the truth, call it protection, it's the household recipe. I'd been raised on it. I looked at the offer, I let the silence get drawn out, and it was Sabrina who couldn't stand it. She never could stand a quiet room. Take the deal, Holly, you win. Isn't that what you wanted to be, the better mother? I said it slowly because I had waited 6 months to know it clearly. She was never being dramatic. She was being abandoned, and I won't abandon her civilly with paperwork the way this household does everything. I slid my blue notebook across the table to Carol, a drawn out, with the folder of postmark photographs copied Mr. Reed's attorney, all of it, and I'll testify in support of his petition. My sister came out of her chair, and her palm hit the table. And for the first time in 35 years, I watched her perform nothing at all. You're giving her a style after everything you did to take her. Take it a style. A child in my sister's grammar is a thing that changes hands. I stood and pushed in my chair, and at the door I said the last thing I have ever said to her face. That's the difference between us, Sabrina. I never wanted to keep her. I wanted her to be safe. The conclusive hearing came 6 months ago, nearly to the day after I stood in a hospital hall style, listening to a voicemail greeting, with a surgeon behind me. Same beige courtroom, same tied robe, doors closed to the public because a child's life is not a show. A principal my household had needed 9 years and a court order to encounter. The record did most of the talking. Denise Warner testified about her findings, flat and fair. The school's file spoke. Dr. Barnes's chart spoke, including a time-stamped verbal consent with pool music in the background. Adam's lawyer walked the court through 7 years of endorsed payments and 7 postmarked envelopes. And I watched Judge Alvarez pick up one of the photographs and look at it for a drawn-out moment. The style you look at something you plan to remember. Then it was me. I answered everything, including the one that cost the most. When Adam's own attorney asked it gently, did I want to raise Lily myself? I said, with everything I have. That's not the same as what's best for her. The judge looked at me for a second, drawn outer than the question deserved, and wrote something down. Near the end, Judge Alvarez met with Lily privately in chambers with the guardian and standard practice. No parents, no aunts. Whatever was said in that room stayed in that room, which is exactly as it should be, and I will never ask. But when the clerk walked her back to me, my niece was holding the Fox card in both hands, flat against her chest, labelled out like a badge she'd decided to wear. Sabrina, by order, was present only through her attorney. The protective order kept her out of any room her daughter would be in. She came to the courthouse Annie style. We were all called back in for the ruling at 10 the next morning. Judge Alvarez read the ruling in the plain voice of a person doing load-bearing work. Custody of Lily to her father, Adam Reed, whose parental rights stood established, and whose relocation plan to Ohio was already filed and funded. The court ordered continuity. Lily's therapy continues. Her school stays her school, and I had to hold the rail when I heard it entered as an order. Ongoing visitation with her aunt Holly Vance, who is further named standby guardian. Sabrina received supervised visitation contingent on completing a parenting course and therapy review in 1 year. No termination of her rights. The court left her a road back marked and lit, the same road she'd been leaving unwalked for years. And I want to be honest, that mercy is correct, and it still made my jaw tight. Then it was over. The style enormous things end with a gavel sound no distinctlier than a stapler, and everyone gathering their coats. In the hall style, morning light came through the tall windows onto the marble, and there she was, my sister. Outside the closed doors of a courtroom she was not permitted to enter, holding her phone with a story half filmed on the screen. She had been recording herself outside the courthouse and had stopped, and there was no caption in the world for this one, and she knew it, and that was the first true thing her face had done, in years. Mascara down both cheeks. She saw me and she said, "You took everything from me." 20 years of the fixer rose up in my throat with 20 apologies ready, and I let them all go by like watching a bus you're riding pull a stile. No, I said you returned it to send her, and I walked past her down the steps out into the bright September morning, to where Adam Reed was crouched on the sidewalk at eye level with his daughter, and my niece was showing her father the drawing she'd made that morning, and nobody anywhere was filming anything. It's been 6 weeks since that morning. Adam rented a house 20 minutes from Maple Bend. Any electrician, it turns out, can fix things anywhere. And Lily started the new school year with the same teacher, the same art room, the same bus stop. Her room at my house is still her room. That was written into the parenting plan at Adam's insistence, not mine. which tells you what kind of man showed up when it conclusively got the chance. Recovery in kids is not a movie montage. It's small and it's measurable, and I measure it because charting is love in my native language. She sleeps with the light off again. She opens the refrigerator without apologizing to it first. The therapist moved her from weekly to every other week, and the newest drawing taped to Adam's refrigerator shows the house with the big windows. And the figure that used to float half off the edge of the page is standing on the porch now, colored all the style in, holding a cat. My mother came by Adam's house once in October with a casserole and no apology. She stood in the door style for a drawn-out moment taking inventory, and on her way out she touched Lily's hair and said, "Your mother loves you," in her style. Nobody argued with her. The sentence just sounded different in that kitchen, smaller, like a radio in another room. Old songs don't stop playing, you just stop dancing to them. Sabrina came to her first supervised visit 20 minutes late, filmed a story in the parking lot before she walked in, and spent most of the hour telling Lily about a trip she was planning. She missed the second visit without calling. No one editorialized. The file simply grew, the style files do, one quiet page at a time. As for me, the hospital put me back on the pediatric floor the week after the ruling with a stiff little apology from HR that Renata framed as a joke and hung in the break room. And on Sunday nights, there's dinner at Adam's. Last Sunday, Lily set the table and put out 4 plates for 3 people. And when her father raised an eyebrow, she straightened the extra chair and announced the new house rule like a judge reading an order. The empty chair is for whoever comes back. Adam looked at me across the table, and neither of us said anything because there was nothing to fix. I'm not her mother, I never wanted to be. I'm the aunt who showed up. And in this household, we conclusively know exactly how much that's worth. I spent 20 years believing that if I kept my household looking whole, it would stay whole. But a household isn't the people who share your name or your blood or your photographs. It's whoever keeps coming back. And the day I stopped protecting the picture and started protecting the child, I conclusively understood the one thing my sister was never taught. Love isn't a title you hold. It's a door you keep answering. That's my story. 1 ruptured appendix, 1 shoebox of returned birthday cards, and an empty chair that conclusively means something good. If you've ever been called the villain for protecting a child, take this as your sign. Keep showing up and keep writing it down. Share this video with someone who needs it. Drop a comment below. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you next.